Well, I would say you know when you're ready, when you have a desire to save for your own retirement. That's number one. You're also ready when it becomes a recruiting issue. So if you're
Mm.
trying to hire people on and they're asking about, well, what's your 401k plan like, or what are your benefits like, and it's starting to become a differentiator between your business and them going to work for someone else, that's when it's super important as well.
Welcome back to the Bombshell Business Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Hurdle, and we're going to have a very nerdy, interesting conversation today. But if you're like me, you are a self-appointed nerd and you are curious about these things. And whether this is for your business, a business that you're a part of, somebody who owns a business that you might think this is important to, this is going to be a great episode to talk about things that we probably don't sit around drinking our mimosas talking about. So let's put our listening ears on today and see if we can make something a little more sexy than it is in other areas of the world. So today's guest is Courtenay Shipley, and she is the founder and chief planologist of Retirement Planology, a consulting and registered investment advisory firm for corporate sponsored retirement plans. With a wealth of experience in the retirement plan industry, Courtenay not only offers her clients expertise in investment analysis, plan design, and employee education, but also helps them leverage their employee benefits in a way that supports their own business goals, because it's got to be a win-win-win, right? Welcome to the Bombshell Business Podcast, Courtenay.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
So you can see she's not at all nerdy looking, right? She's fabulous. But we're nerds in our souls, right, Courtenay?
That's right.
So let's just start with, how in the heck did you get into this? Like, retirement planning for companies. Like, that's very specific.
It is very specific. Yeah. I graduated with a music degree, believe it or not, and wanted a sales job and fell into insurance and retirement plans for school teachers at the time. It was 403B plans. And I thought, you know what? I love the retirement aspect of things and investing, and I love helping people understand how to invest and what that means and change their path towards financial independence. And how can I just do that? And so I, through a series of other jobs, one led to another in the industry. And, here we are 20 something years later.
Wow. So what do you see? Like, why do small business, mid-market businesses hesitate to offer these type of benefits to their employees, or what keeps them from offering them?
The number one reason that we hear is money. They're still trying to make it a profitable business
Yeah.
or put themselves in a good situation where they've got that flexibility with their cash flow. And so once you add that retirement plan, it starts to get a little nervous about that. And also, I think the other reason is that it's complicated. It's not real easy to sign up for one. It's not easy to put one together. There's fiduciary responsibility of getting the money from one place to another and the investments and all that. And so it becomes a little complicated. But usually what we see is that owners say, well, shoot, I've got to save for retirement,
Right.
or I've got all these extra profits and I don't want to just give it to the IRS. So what's another way that I can help my employees and help myself at the same time? So that's
Yeah.
when we see it go into place.
So how do you determine when is the right time for you? Is it head count? Is it number of full-time employees versus contractors? Is it how many year, is it a certain revenue that you have to hit each year to make it make sense? Can you walk us through, like, when do I know that I'm ready?
When do you know that you're ready? Well, I would say you know when you're ready when you have a desire to save for your own retirement. That's number one. You're also ready when it becomes a recruiting issue. So if you're
Mm.
trying to hire people on and they're asking about, well, what's your 401k plan like, or what are your benefits like? And it's starting to become a differentiator between your business and them going to work for someone else. That's when it's super important as well.
Absolutely. Now, of course, I also have Employer Brand Central. Y'all know that I have a subscription model for this size business so that you can have help with recruiting. And well, we don't do the recruitment, but we teach you how to properly recruit. We teach you how to engage. And so I have a lot of opinions around benefits and generations and expectations and things like that. But I'm not the expert in this. You are. So I'm going to ask my questions. Gen Z, especially younger millennial, Gen Z, have a very fierce expectation for wellness being offered. And wellness to them is not, do you have Wellness Wednesday and can I get a flu shot at work? Wellness is, can I show up as a whole human being and be supported at work in being a whole, healthy person who has well-being? Well-being's a big word. That includes financial well-being. Have you first seen anything generationally that has shifted since you got started a while ago?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you have? 5 generations in the workforce now, I think, is what they're saying. We've got the baby boomers who are staring retirement down, and
Right?
they're super obsessed with retirement plans. Yeah, super obsessed with retirement plans and trying to make the right decisions and preparing themselves and what's life after going to work every day going to look like. And so they have a very focused perspective on what's coming next. Then we look at maybe Gen X, who is a little slower to get started. Maybe they were given some advice from their parents. In some cases, they've just paid off their student loans. I mean, we see it all.
Yeah.
But they do appreciate a good retirement plan and a match and are going to be looking for that. Millennials, I think, got just extraordinary amounts of lectures from their parents who were the younger boomers and the older Gen X. And they're like, you have to save. You have to save in your retirement plan. You have to sign up for your 401k. And so most often we hear them coming in saying, I was told I needed to sign up for this. My parents told me. But right there, that my parents told me, it gives you a little indication and a little window into how their thinking and decision making happened, right? So the millennial generation were the first ones to be talking about, this is what my parents influenced me to do. Whereas we did not see that with Gen X in enrolling for retirement plans. We certainly don't see that from the boomer generation. And then I would say Gen Z is like, what do you mean you don't have automatic enrollment? Why do I have to fill anything?
Why is this a choice?
Why is this hard? Why is there friction here? So yes, there's definitely a differentiation across the spectrum about how they approach making financial decisions, the priorities they have right now, like you hit on the head with the wellness. What does that mean? And that's going to mean something different to every one of those generations. Whether you are supporting elderly parents or you're a caregiver versus single and no dependents and, early on in your career. So there's a lot of different needs that need to be met with that for financial wellness.
Yeah. So I'm asking that because y'all know I'm a branding person. And so she's the financial retirement expert, the planologist. But the messaging around this and the understanding of the emotional connection that this offering creates that does sustain that engagement, that does sustain that culture of I care about my team. The company cares about the employees who work for me. It's not just about like having another thing on your benefits list. It truly is sending a message. I can't wait to get to a point, we just started EBC in the past year, but like I would love to offer something like this. So what is the first step of, okay, let's just say I'm a business owner. I'm interested in retirement for myself. I call you. What type of questions are you going to ask me?
I'm going to ask you a couple of different questions. We specialize in 401k plans. We tend to work with larger companies, at least 10 to 15 to 20 employees. So the first question will be, how many employees are we talking about? And then are we sure that, how much do you want to save? So there are different types of plans available. There's a SEP IRA, there's a simple IRA, then there's the 401k. And so what you want to do is to weed out which options are not the best for you. And so if you say to me, I want to do a little match for my people, or I want to give a little contribution, not a whole lot, in exchange for having this be super easy, and they can just sign up for their own IRA and I don't have to worry about it. I'll just make sure the money gets from the payroll system over to their IRA and then I'm done. then one of the IRA products is going to be a better option for you. It's when you say, we want to max out this plan, or I want to max out this plan. I want to put $23,000 away if I'm under the age of 50 for retirement. I want to, have the flexibility of offering profit sharing contributions into the plan. If we have a profitable year, if we don't, and I want some flexibility on all of that, then the 401k is going to be where you get guided. But the basic questions are going to be like, what do you want this plan to do? Who is it supposed to serve? How many? And what are you thinking from a savings rate perspective?
And so you're saying about 10 employees makes sense to get started in this?
I would say so. You could probably do it when it's smaller. You're just probably not going to come to me, honestly, since we
Okay.
specialize in more complicated types of plans. But there's plenty other places that you can go for smaller plans that will have a very easy, administrative experience.
Okay. So now, where do you see business owners or business operators? Because I know sometimes it's not always the owner who
Yeah.
does the decision making. Where do you see, two-part question, the most success in terms of enrollment and really this being a genuine benefit that people are appreciative of and everybody's happy? And then like the ones that don't go so well, or people drop out, or there's just friction involved, like what's the difference between those two experiences?
Well, especially when you're getting started offering a plan, is have you surveyed your employees to find out if that's something that they want and they desire? Because you, as the owner, maybe don't want to be the only person using the plan and no one else appreciates it. So that's step one. And where we see things go awry, like one time we had someone call who really wanted to put a plan in place, but then they found out that, only two of their employees were interested in it out of, a whole bunch. So
The
there's
administrative
that.
lift wasn't like the juice wasn't
No,
worth the squeeze.
no, they needed other things. They needed student loan payback programs. They needed, some sort of caregiving benefit. There was other things that were way more important to them than a retirement plan. And it was also a function of their industry and who they were hiring too. So
Yeah.
know your audience, right? That's
Know
always
your
an important
audience, girl.
thing.
You're talking my language.
um, where we see things go well is where there is interest, obviously, and that companies just opt for automatic enrollment and have people opt out of doing the plan. And we're seeing that shift because people don't want to have that friction of signing up. They don't want to have to take the extra step. So if you just get them started on the right foot and say, we're going to, default you into the plan unless you say otherwise, we'll push you in there at 5 or 6% of your paycheck or 8%, whatever you choose. You can go change it later. You can go change your investments later, but we're just going to put you on track. People tend to be very appreciative, and the participation rates are high. They're somewhere between 80 to 95%.
And so do you think that's because of ease of trust, that we're assuming that this is the right thing for you, and so there's like a vote of confidence behind it? Like what is, I know you're not a psychologist, but I always have to wonder, like
Yeah.
psychologically, what's happening on the other side of that that makes that the successful route?
Well, it's funny, but the surveys are pointing at the fact that businesses are being relied on more and more as, the place I go for information and the place I go for help on things,
Well, you spend the most
especially
time
with
there.
the younger generations as well. And so there, like you said, there is an amount of trust there. My employer is opting me into this. This is kind of what everybody does. This is the right way. So it's those behavioral nudges that you see in action like that help people get on the right path.
Yeah. When I worked for the state of Georgia, I worked for the University of Georgia's Terry College of Business, one of the top public B schools in the country. It was intense and amazing. Go dogs.
Yeah.
Part of my job was having to tailgate and entertain people in the skybox. It was so hard to watch SEC football for a living. It was terrible. But anyways, one thing that was required was that we had to invest. We had to. We either could go into the matching program, which vested in 10 years. So it was like a 10-year commitment, or you did a non-matching program that you could pull your money out whenever you wanted to. But there was a certain amount minimum amount that you had to take from your paycheck, every single paycheck, in participation of this. It was not an option.
Okay.
So That's a very interesting approach. I'm sure most small businesses wouldn't require that, but I like your, like, you can opt out,
Yeah.
but we're going to set everything up so like it's the easy button for you. And would you recommend any financial wellness classes around this enrollment time or throughout the year to prepare for this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of our service offerings because it's appreciated. People
Yeah,
use it. And so, offering that education on here's what this plan is, here's what it means to you. Also, an opportunity for the employer to highlight what a great match they have and how generous they are, and things along those lines to get them the goodwill out of it. Um, but helping an employee understand, appreciate the plan, understand how it fits into their financial picture. And also it keeps them out of the HR office asking for loans or other things like that. If they've got a place to go where they can ask questions and get help, because everything ties into your retirement plan. I mean, it's hard to save, it's hard to pay for your medical insurance, it's hard to, the list goes on, especially if you don't have good budgeting and cash flow skills. Like that's your basic block and tackling. So offering that to your employees in whatever form or fashion you can. Some will offer like an app. Some will look at it more as like an EAP or employee assistance program where it's like point in time. Okay, now this is relevant. This person's going to take advantage of it, and call the 800 number, or just straight up offering like continuous education throughout the year. Those are going to be used by your employees. It's just that the relevance of them is going to drive the involvement.
for sure. Okay. So that's a lot of sense. And I hope, Bombshell, as you're listening or you're watching, that it is so important to understand the this is this and that is that of what she's talking about. And obviously we have a beautiful resource here of which, at the end of the show we'll get into how to get a hold of her. But so much of this really is about putting yourself in the shoes of your team. Remember, we say with them, what's in it for me? So whether you're recruiting somebody or you're retargeting your audience like Nike would,
Mhm.
if you went to their website and then you follow around all over the internet, there's Nike. Like, you have to do that with your employees. Like, that's the way of the world. You have to constantly remind them why it's so valuable to work for you and not the person up the street for $1 more an hour. So I think that a key thing in all of this isn't just, okay, you need to have retirement plans offered. It's like, why and then how. And so my next question for you is, can we talk a little bit about benefits in general?
Sure.
Where does this fit in of, you have your health insurance and I'll let you take it from there, but you have your basics. And then how do you position this and what are the best practices just in talking about benefits in general in your recruitment marketing materials, in your company newsletter, things like that?
Right. I don't think anybody's going to be like, "Oh, the reason I came to your company was because of the 401k." But
Right.
it will be the straw that broke the camel's back. It will be well, I didn't go there because I didn't know. I mean, and in all of these other things, and they didn't have a 401k. So, it's important that it makes it on the list. But like you said, you started with health insurance, and that seems to be the thing that most people care about the absolute most because we don't have it otherwise. So I would start with that. I'd start with funneling your energy into figuring out the best options for you and your team on that. The next thing is probably your life insurance benefits and disability insurance. So if we think of it in a hierarchy, like your paycheck is your most valuable asset, right? Your earning potential, your ability to show up at work, that is your most valuable asset. So, how do we protect your paycheck in different situations? So, the first is something happens to your health, you've got to have your health insurance. If you are not able to show up at work, either because you're no longer around or because you've got a long-term health problem that's keeping you out of work, that's where disability and life insurance come in. So disability, obviously, that's going to continue to pay you. Life insurance would continue to pay for the people who depend on your paycheck. And then the
Right.
last piece of it is the retirement side. So maybe you don't want to work forever. How are you going to make your own paycheck if you don't have to show up at an employer anymore, if you don't want to show up at an employer anymore? And that's where your retirement plan and Social Security come in together. So having all of those bases covered is a nice, robust benefits package. It's an easy way to explain to employees, here's how we've got you covered. And I would say that's the place to start. And then beyond that, you may have some recruiting challenges that make it important for you to have things like pet insurance or student loan payback programs or, whatever it might be from there.
Yeah. Let's take a quick pause, real quick, and talk about procrastination, distraction, all those things that keep us from performing at our best. And y'all know I'm all about overall wellness. That's why we are even talking about financial wellness for our employees. And I want to tell you about something that adds to my wellness, and that is Magic Mind. It is a productivity shot. I like to shake it up, pour it over ice, mix it with a little soda water, stir, stir. And it's like a cute little cocktail that helps with my nutrition. But most importantly, it has all the different types of things like nootropics, matcha, my personal favorite, L-theanine, which helps regulate your nervous system. It's kind of like a sense of calm. And when you have all those things like swirling around in your brain, this is the fuel that you need. And I know so many of my audience members have some level of participation in the neurodivergent community. And so we are partnering with them so that you can get this at a discount. So you can go to magicmind.com/bombshell, and that will get you 20% off with the code bombshell20. And that also gets you 56% off. Talk about a deal if you do the subscription. So, if it's for you, great. If it's not, great. It works for me. I felt compelled. I've been talking to them for a couple of years now and finally was like, you know what? I need to just talk about this. I'm telling you, I don't make a ton of money at this. Okay. I do get a small little thing for saying this, but I don't tell you anything that I don't wholeheartedly believe in. So it's called Magic Mind. Check it out. Give it a try. One order, see if it changes anything. Give it a few days, track it in a journal. If it works for you, fantastic. Then you can show up as an even brighter, bold, brave, unwaveringly confident woman in business like the bombshell that you are. So, this sounds like such a scary thing. And when I was in higher education, I did fundraising, major gift fundraising, and I joined when I was still in the Nashville area. I joined, it was like I can't even think of it, but it's like the Giving Society of something, but it was like now I'm losing it. I promise you, Bombshell, I know what I'm talking about, but it's the planned giving.
Planned giving.
So planned giving taught me a lot about lots of different vehicles to put money in, to do different things. And it helped demystify things that were like, oh, that's way on down the road. Like, I don't have to worry about that quite yet. So for those, there are those who are super eager. They're like, I expect my employer to give me these resources for my total wellness. And then there are other people who are like, I just graduated college, or, I just, graduated high school. Why are you coming to me talking about retirement? How do
Yeah.
we overcome that perception to help educate our team members that the time to start saving for retirement is exactly now?
So again, you can build it in behaviorally and have it default, start right
Mhm.
away, or after a few months of working at the job, and that kind of takes that conversation out of it because it happened automatically. Money started going into their retirement account, and by the time they looked up, they had a big balance, and they were super proud of themselves for saving, and they didn't even realize they did it.
Yeah.
So that's one way. Another way, though, I think starts in the human resources office, or maybe it's the owner who's explaining, "Hey, I wish I'd had this when I was a kid." Or when I was coming along at age 18, when I first started at my first job. It's always good to have somebody at the company say, I wish I'd started this earlier, or here's been my experience with it. Um, those are good things to do as well. But it's kind of it's a PR move, right? Like you're trying to reinforce that this is a good culture, that this is a great place to work. And so anything you can do to help push that message forward is going to be a good thing that pays dividends in the long run.
Absolutely. So, yeah, recruitment, retention, customization,
Mhm.
all of those things are increasingly important. And, I brought up the Plain Giving Society just to say that simple communication, simple explanations, and then what made my brain go to that is you are just like walking people along their financial journey, like the
Yep.
ways to protect yourself to ensure that you and your loved ones always have income. And so, in my brain, I saw like, kind of like a path and little stops on the journey, and like how do
Yeah.
you communicate that and how do you encourage that, and you don't want to strong arm people into enrollment, right? You
No.
want them to be inspired to enroll. And I agree with you on the auto enrollment thing.
Yeah,
But then the messaging around that is so
exactly.
critical too. So it's very helpful to hear it from an expert like you.
And it's
As to,
not a one-time thing, right? You're not just talking to them about it the one time they sign up. This is an annual ongoing path that they are walking, and things are going to mean different things to them at certain points in their life. So retirement, like I said before, how much is my balance, but where do I have it invested in? How am I going to incorporate Social Security? When am I supposed to take that? What's Medicare? When do I sign up? So they have all of those issues. Whereas the person who's just getting started is like, how much am I supposed to save again? How much is that going to be missing out of my paycheck? My rent is high, you know?
right.
They're trying to figure out how it fits into their just daily budget. So
Yeah.
completely different, opposite ends of the spectrum. And they are going to move through that path towards retirement so that things will be relevant to them at certain points in time along that journey. So
Yeah.
you have to keep trying with the messaging over and over again.
Yeah. Well, like everything. And, of all the engagement surveys I've participated in and helped facilitate the back end of or whatever, the one of the top areas of improvement for companies, and I'm talking about even when I worked at Gaylord Hotels, like there's no way you could have missed the message. Like we had back of the house TVs, we had webcasts, we had company newsletters, we had digital versions, paper versions, we had things like in the bathroom stalls that announced things, we had text messaging, we had stand-ups every single day, pre-shifts, like I could go on and on. A daily news thing. We had urgent alert emails that we sent out. Like there's no way that we could have massive,
Yeah.
ridiculous like plays where we talked about things through entertaining ways. Like there's no way they could have missed the message. And yet what did we hear? We need more communication. We're not communicated to it effectively. And
Yeah.
so that's across the board what I see in companies. So it's not enough to just offer it. You have to on repeat, like put it in your communication strategy throughout the year, the benefits of this, tell success stories. Like what are some of the other ideas that where it's not like open enrollment is blah blah blah, or as a reminder this is what you do, like real corporate speaky. Like how can people communicate throughout the year in fun ways, or their competitions, or what are the ways that you've seen your customers be successful in elevating this?
Yeah, 401k day is in September nationally. So we see a lot of people celebrating 401k day. That's always a good one. Or perhaps lunch and learns throughout the year on different financial topics that tie
Okay.
back to, oh, and don't forget you have your retirement plan and you're putting money in or you're not, or here's how you sign up. So being able to do that. Also, I've seen where they'll do like wellness points throughout the year. So please sign up to attend a webinar on these certain topics, and you get a credit at the end of the year. So they want you to have covered each one of the wellness categories. So, like looking at it as a holistic wellness program, maybe just besides a financial wellness program. I think you'd mentioned that before. And the other thing too is considering how different populations hear the message or how they're going to interpret the message. So checking your marketing and making sure that you see different kinds of people represented in the
Yes.
pictures, or making sure that you understand how different cultures that work for you may make decisions differently, and they may need more time to make decisions, or they might want to consult people that you did not expect in order to make those decisions. So thinking through who your employee base is and how they do things is going to be important. And that's why I'm such a proponent for automatic enrollment, because it really does help with the marginalized communities and the people of color, and getting the enrollment rates to be the same across the board for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I know I speak about Gaylord a lot, but I was on the HR leadership team there, and Gaylord's known for exceptional culture. And it was my whole job to just employee happiness. That was my only job. And I say that in jest. There's so much that went into that. But, we had a very large population of Egyptian stars. We called our employees stars. and they were Coptic Christian, which is like Christianity, but kind of feels a little Muslim, like in like their fasting and prayer time. And I'm not offending anybody by trying to compare religions, but I'm saying it's like if you were to just look at it from the outside, this is kind of the vibe of it. And we had to learn the unique things that mattered to that subsection of our employee base. So we printed things in Arabic, and we ensured that when it was time to enroll in things like this, that we had it translated into their native tongue, even though everybody spoke English and everything. When you're talking about complex things, we would even have headsets. I would call an interpreter in, and he would hear what was being said by our executives, and he would say it in Arabic so that they could hear it in their native tongue and truly understand. And then, yeah, they might have a community or a religious figure that they would go talk to these things about. So I love that you brought that up. And that's a part of creating a sense of belonging. It's not
Yes.
about, having quotas or things like that. It's about letting people who work for you understand that you care about them and their unique needs, and that they belong there just as much as anybody else who doesn't look like them.
Yep.
And rant.
Hey, piggybacking on that story, I was down on the border of Texas and Mexico at a hospital, and they had a large Hispanic population. A woman came in and said, "Hey, I don't understand why I should use this plan. I'm a good saver. I saved all of this money for my daughter's quinceañera, and I just don't feel like I have to do this. This seems weird." And I said, well, okay, here's how we break this down. What you're saving in is a savings account. And I went down the path of explaining the tax benefits of being in the plan. And we did have some frank conversations about where was she going to retire? Would she, because it was right on the border. And so I said, would you retire in Mexico or the US? Because you would want to use this plan differently depending on where you might end up from a tax perspective. And it was such a rich and good conversation. But had she not come at it, giving me some clues, some context clues about, where her head's at and where, how she views things through her cultural lens, I think that it would have been a lost cause and she wouldn't have understood it. So I was really glad she spoke up.
Brilliant. And I'm so grateful that you took that time to see it through her lens. That's what it's about. It's really not about anything else other than like ensure that you are being empathetic to your team and
Sure.
their realities and their lives their lives are not in the box of your business. Like they're not. And so we've got to go into their world and help them see things through their lens of how it's going to benefit them. What's in it for me? I'm going to say that 5 billion times before I'm dead. I promise.
Love it.
So before we end on the final question, let's talk about where people can find you. So on social media, you can go to LinkedIn, which I love you going to LinkedIn, where there are no cat videos or TikTok dances. It's where we go to do business and socialize there. So that is LinkedIn/NC Shipley, Shipley, and this will all be in the show notes. And then also linkedin.com/company/retirement-planology-inc. And then, of course, you can go to retirementplanology.com. Again, go to amberhurdle.com /podcast with an S. Look for this episode. Courtenay Shipley, you can just even Google all of it. I'm sure it'll take you right there and you can get all of those links. But now the final question. What parting piece of advice? It doesn't have to be about financial planning. It doesn't have to be about retirement, but just based on whatever it is, while you have these people's attention, what parting piece of advice would you give to a bold, brave, unwaveringly confident woman who we refer to as a bombshell?
2 things. I would say number 1 is keep going.
Yes.
Just keep going. Just keep going. And the second is you don't need to be the smartest in the room. You will think that other people around you know more. You will think your competitors must have it all figured out. And it turns out that's just not true. So keep going. Do not back down. Do not believe that little voice in your head that says you don't know enough or they know more, because it's just not true.
That's awesome. I don't know if you're a regular listener or if you're new to us, but I think Courtenay is a bona fide bombshell. I'm just going to go ahead and bestow. Wait, hold on. For those watching on YouTube, let me get my my magic wand out.
Love
I
it.
now knight you, Courtenay, a bold, brave, unwaveringly confident woman in business, because you speak our language. Those are things
Thank
we talk
you.
about frequently. Well, I hope that that our listeners do go check out your website and get in touch with you. Is there like a first step that people take? Is there like a discovery call, or what's the first step with you?
Yeah, if they go to retirementplanology.com/learn more, there's a calendar on there where you can sign up for a quick call about what you got going on and we can discuss things. There's also some more information, some articles on there as well, if you want to start reading up on retirement plans or how they work or that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that's an
There's a
easy way to do
wealth.
it.
You have
Yeah.
so much good content. Your LinkedIn's pretty strong too, if
Oh,
I do
thanks.
say so myself. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for being on the show, Courtney.
Thank
And
you.
Bombshell, you always know what to do. This episode might have been for you. It might not have been for you. I hope you did learn something along the way, but it was definitely for somebody in your network. And how we create our community in the Bombshell community is not in Facebook groups or Slack channels or anything like that. It is genuinely just being like, hey, I know I am busy and I have a plate full, but I know my sister over here might need a retirement solution for her business. So I'm going to share this knowledge with somebody I know needs it. So please do that. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're a YouTube watcher. Help us get more eyeballs on this so that our Bombshell community can continue to expand and we can all be successful on our journeys. And with that, I bid you farewell and I'll see you on the next episode.